Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to finish up this week with the creator request, which is where usually a smaller band gets in contact with me and asks me to check out their work. And I'm always happy to do so. So, today we're going to be looking at a request from the Harbinger. I got an email that said, "Hey, first of all, I love your reactions. The songs are so well analyzed, and I don't think anyone else on YouTube reviews songs that thoroughly. Keep doing what you're doing." Harbinger is a death doom metal band from Finland formed in 2017. We released 2 months ago our newest single, Dead Ends, from our upcoming EP, also called Dead Ends. The song is very atmospheric and heavy, not to mention great melodies and solos. So, let's dive into this. We have the track Dead Ends from the Harbinger. We're in 5. No, we had some polyrhythm going on. We're in 4. Listen to what the drums are doing. Yeah. A little brighter than I typically expect from Death or Doom, but it definitely has that lower end chugging elements. Yeah, this is a really interesting rhythm. Yeah, so it's almost like a 3 and then a 5, which is what makes it feel odd. But the second part of the phrase begins on beat 4 of the first part. And I like how that disjointed, imbalanced rhythm still exists underneath all of this noise. Yeah, it's not so much of changing to a new idea. We layer on top of it. It never leaves that folky, clean guitar line. Yeah, I'm talking about brighter lines. Listen to this melody. Taking that downbeat idea again, but reading it up, overdrive. The drums, I love how they're all over the place. Sometimes they're halftime, sometimes they're double time. It helps give this section an ebb and flow, since everybody else is sort of just kind of laying into the same idea. Some vocal variety right there. Pushing that very narrow harsh up a little bit as far as pitch goes. Yeah, there's something very mellow about this, pensive. The layering is so good, where we have our melody, but instead of putting chords under it, we put moving ideas. You can feel the weight here. It's so lethargic. Interesting. Shifted into an entire different mode for a full bar. Very gutsy, but it works. High risk, high reward there. Oh dang, it's already 7 minutes. Okay. Okay, I did not expect it to be over already. It makes sense though, moving into the slowest section with the lowest vocals to finish the track out, to really bring that weight home, right? Give it that 110% to finish this out. Yeah, okay. I don't think I know what death is. I felt the doom aspects in this. I did. But maybe I just don't know enough about death to pick out. To me, this is a combination of doom and folk. Um, and finding moments to bring the two together, which was actually a joy to listen to. So what are we going on? What's going on here? I think that's kind of the angle I want to go on. That's a good segue there. We have doomy sections and we have folky sections, and I want to dig into both of these separate before looking at how they bridge them together occasionally. The folkier sections are all the ones that kind of lighten things up. We get rid of a bit of the distortion. I don't. We had harsh vocals in a couple of these. Yeah, so we did have the vocals there. Drums were a bit lighter though, focusing more on the cymbal and a little bit of the snare. Although the thing is nice with this drum set, with the drummer, sorry, is that not a lot goes on with the drums, so we don't really have to worry too often about the drums overshadowing any specific vibe. The drums are consistently played slowly. There is that one moment when the feel of the drums was constantly in flux. Every bar or two, we shifted from time to halftime to double time, and I really enjoyed that moment. I thought it was an interesting idea of keeping this section moving and flowing. We'll get there though. But during these folkier sections where a lot of the heaviness and weight are pulled back and it's a focus on melody, the drums don't really have to change much of what they're doing because they're already not playing much to begin with. And so that allows these sections to have the melodic component really shine through. In fact, maybe the drums weren't even playing in some of these sections. I'm not going to lie, I was really focused on a lot of the melody writing in these because that was the focus, and it was the only time I was getting to actually listen to how this band composes melodic phrasing. Um, so we have usually two guitars going on, sometimes three in these sections, where we have a lead and we have a foundational counterpoint. It's kind of working in both realms. Our lead instrument is typically our spotlit line. And what was really interesting is that the very first segment we get into here, I had no idea what the time signature was. I counted it out in five, which was really interesting. But when the drums first came in, they solidified a 4/4. And then later on, I mentioned that the idea is actually split up into 3/4 and 5/4, which gives us eight in total, which means it's probably split 4/4 right down the middle, with the second set of the phrase starting on beat 4 of the first bar, like I had mentioned. But the idea still stands that it's a really interesting polyrhythm going on here that made it difficult to feel the 4/4, which is really cool because it works in isolation and it works in the knowledge of the 4/4. That line right there felt like a cohesive idea at the beginning of the song, but was only expanded in scope when we added the context of the drums playing in 4/4, the rest of the band playing in 4/4 there. And I think that is a beautiful line. It really is. I love the idea of creating a line that gives the listener a very different time feel from what we're in, and then laying down the time feel in one other instrument. And instead of it feeling like they're clashing, it feels like they support each other, right? You didn't know that something was missing, but now that you've added in that other something, now it feels complete. It felt complete before, now it definitely feels complete. Although, theoretically, there could be a third part that makes it feel more complete. But right here, I'm happy with the way that they came together on that. Um, so that was really interesting. But that would be our lead melody line. And then when the second guitars come in, I think the heavy guitars are what came in next. And these are purely foundational, usually working within the realms of texture and rhythm. Usually to give it a slow feeling, that dom, 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 dom. Something to give it that weight. So we're not really focused too much on notes there. However, there was another moment where we brought the song down a bit, and the guitars to the right of the vocalist in the video began to play a melody line. Gorgeous writing, great flow. Moving from one idea to the next, taking ideas that they had played prior, really making this strong, cohesive, forward-moving, directional melody line. A really strong sense of musical storytelling in the guitar work. The guitarist to the right was playing the second guitar part, and instead of just putting chords underneath, it was another moving idea with fluctuating groupings of notes. So we actually had rhythmic variety within it as well. I think there was a larger pattern at play, maybe 4 bars long. So it was technically a riff rather than a melody, but the fact that it was a moving part underneath our lead moving part just tells me that they have a strong knack for this. And I would like to see them actually push this in the future and maybe enter some counterpoint when they do these dual guitar sections. Actually write a second melody for that second guitar to play within and around what the lead guitar is doing. Pretty much what they already did, just don't loop it. Continue on the idea. And I think it's going to add a lot of extra depth and complexity to your. Well, I don't want to say depth and complexity. It'll add more nuance um, to the melodic writing when you choose to go in that direction. And you already got the skill there. Like I said, it already feels really good. Just don't have that guitar loop back to the beginning again. Have it continue to write fresh stuff for it, just like you did with the lead guitar. And it doesn't need to happen. I doubt very many people would have listened to that and thought, wow, we have counterpoint, but they looped it. It was pretty cool still, but it could have been more linear. And, like I said, I don't think many people are going to listen to your music and immediately think that. Like you caught on, I dig into music thoroughly. That is my job here. I'm not your average listener, so if that's not something you want to do or intend to do or anything like that, it's not going to impact the music, especially in the way that your listeners are listening to it. But it would be a neat little thing if you guys are interested in maybe trying something a little different there. Don't immediately jump to the idea of loop based or riff based ideas underneath your linear melody writing, and see where that takes you. If you don't like it, ditch it. No, I would never tell anybody that they have to take the ideas that I'm laying down, but you know, I like to point out ideas of where I might have differed, and if that sounds neat to you, go ahead and try it. So yeah, that is in a nutshell most of the folkier aspects, the quieter, the calmer aspects. It's usually two instruments, one lead style and one supportive, foundational. Sometimes there's counterpoint involved. Really strong melody from both sides usually, but beautiful linear writing on our lead instrument for sure. Subdued drumming and no vocals, I don't think. Everything in here was harsh, wasn't it? We had a couple of different harsh styles. I really admire a bit of the variety there, even if the style isn't typically to my liking. I'm not a huge. Actually, that's where. Oh no, you said doom and death. I was gonna say that's where the black metal part comes in. But it does kind of remind me of black metal vocals. Not usually my cup of tea, but they kind of worked here, and I think a lot of that has to do with the production, in that they did feel like an extra texture alongside everything else, rather than something elevated above the rest of the band. It helps me kind of put it into its place as a rhythmic and textural element in the band. When people put that in the spotlight, it's kind of difficult for it to sit where it naturally should fit because of its lack of melody, lack of pitch, right? But I do really enjoy that when the vocalist decided to go up in perceived range and went for these higher harshes, that the mix seemed to pull them out of the mix a little bit to give them that extra oomph, which really helped because it naturally feels like there's more air coming through because it's higher pitched, and just naturally many people tend to hear that as louder. Right? It doesn't necessarily have to be, and one of the first things you learn when you are learning to play an aerophone instrument is that more air does not mean louder. Playing higher does not mean playing louder, and it's one of the biggest lessons, at least I had to learn as a trumpet player, was that when I start getting above the staff and I start hitting the higher E's and the G's, the double C's, I don't need to play louder. I need more air pressure, but I don't need to play louder. And there's like this whole thing in learning how to control your instrument in that realm. But like I said, kind of went on a small tangent there. Most people though, when they think of higher, they think of louder. Think of all your pop singers, and when they start to do their little runs into their higher stuff, they tend to also crescendo, right? It's just a natural vibe that we have. So I really like how that was brought out here. I don't know if any actual extra volume was utilized to get into that style of harsh, but I like how the producer decided to bring it up a little bit to help emphasize it and help create that extra perceived uh, power that came out of that, and really cement that section down as a more powerful, more willful section. It requires more strength to get to that tone kind of idea. Really great idea there, and like I said, it works at exemplifying the emotions designed for that section. Um, Kind of segueing into the heavier sections altogether. A lot of these were not my personal cup of tea. I'm going to talk about them as positively as I can. There are some really cool things going on, but really slow chugging is the exact opposite of variety and contrast that I really enjoy. It was fine, contrasted against the folkier sections that gave me something to bounce against it. But yeah, just personally, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people watch this and be like, yeah, man, that was awesome. I love when they got so slow and chuggy and it was just like beautiful. I love that. And I'm like, better you than me. That's how I tend to look at music, right? Just because I don't like it doesn't mean it's bad. And there's definitely going to be people who really enjoy it. And I really hope that they can find it, right? To get the band with those fans and be the middleman that connects the two. That's one of the whole reasons for this creator request, is sort of to get more eyes and ears on these smaller bands. I mean, they have 25 subscribers here. I don't know what their Spotify or anything else looks like. But I mean, 25 YouTube subscribers is certainly a small band in my books. And if I can get even one person to say, "Oh my God, I can't wait for this album now. I'm going to pick it up, or I'm going to check it out on Spotify or whatever the day it drops," and that's, to me, that's a job well done. I'm happy with that. Anyways, though, yeah, the heavier, chuggier stuff really has a ton of weight to it, right? And I think that's the whole point of it, is to induce this massive lethargy, right? The song does not want to progress. It is barely dragging its feet, but you also feel this massive weight about it. It is not just being lazy or bored, it's about requiring so much strength to even move the leg to take the step, that is what weighs it down. Maybe the person, or maybe this giant mechanism does want to move forward. Maybe the song does want to progress, but the required effort to do so is so massive that the movement is slow. It is heavy and weighty. And that's exactly what this song feels like to me. Um, everybody's in on it too. There's that one moment though I want to talk about where all the stringed instruments were doing this chugging thing. I mean, just really every beat was, actually, I think it was every other beat. No, it was, sorry. They were playing eighth notes, but every other beat was accented. The downbeats were accented. So you get da 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 da. Not as emphasized. I want to really showcase what an emphasized beat is against an unemphasized one in eighth notes. But yeah, something along those lines where it was, constant up and down picking, but it had this pulse to it, right? And what was interesting is the vocalist was doing their thing, a little bit of rhythmic complexity in there, a lot of quarter notes, but also some eighth note ideas to just change it up a little bit. The drums, though, they would go from hitting every other downbeat to every downbeat to eighth notes. And they would actually shift this up as well. So maybe they were doing every beat on the hi hat and eighth notes on the snare. And then kind of change this up everywhere else. And so we had all these different combinations of rhythmic drives every, 2 bars or so. And like I said, it had this ebb and flow. Between that and the way that the eighth notes were coming out of the guitars, it really felt like a living organism at this point. We had this what did I call it? This pulse coming out of the stringed instruments, and we have this ebb and flow like breathing coming out of the drums. And I'm really curious what the lyrics are in this track to kind of see what maybe thematic topics are being covered here, because to me this is it's a mix between pensiveness, a type of longing almost. There's a little bit of beauty, but mostly there's this missing something in a lot of the folkier sections. And the heavier sections are just this immense weight of trying to push forward and having every ounce of your being telling you that that's not going to happen. So much so that the music itself feels like this person, it feels like a living thing. And I think they did a fantastic job bringing that all together. And I think that covers it. I touched every instrument, the cool parts that I thought that the instruments did, both sections, both types. Oh, the ways that they come together. I want to talk about this real quick because I really like their layering process that they have going on here. I mentioned at the beginning we have what I perceive to be a 5/4 idea that I eventually found out is just a segmented concept that fits within the 4/4. Anyways, that's on a clean guitar. It felt like we came out of that idea into our first heavy one, but I think in retrospect, based on what I heard later, that isn't true. In fact, that guitar line continues on throughout the song, and you can actually hear it underneath the heaviness of everything else. Even when our other two guitars are doing different things, we technically have 3 different lines going on here in our guitar work. You can still hear it underneath all of that. It's a bit faint, it's quiet, it is a clean guitar against some distorted stuff. And the growls are not helping this clean guitar shine either. Um, But yeah, we have all this uh this disjointed, like I said, unweighted, not balanced. That's what I want. Not balanced. Three, group of three and a group of five phrase acting up down here underneath everything. It's sort of the foundational work for so many moments. Pretty much any time that we focus in on this concept, this clean guitar line, and we move out of it into a heavier section, it still exists. And through that, I can understand how the song isn't actually jumping back and forth between different ideas, but a lot of it is actually how things are layered. So many of the transitions seem instant, and they are. When we move from one idea to the next, we don't have anything that helps bleed over into it usually. It's just this was the idea we were in, this is the idea we're in now. The downbeat of beat one is the new concept. If it's heavier, everybody joins it on that downbeat. But the idea of continuing on ideas from, or continuing on phrases or melodic concepts from previous sections into new ones allows there to be a sort of continuity through the track, even if the transitions are harsh, to allow each section to feel like it fits and molds into the rest and that the song is a cohesive whole. And I really enjoy that because a lot of the times when we have heavier songs like this that also apply softer elements, it is sort of a back and forth. And here I don't really feel like that. Like I said, the transitions do kind of give it that illusion. But once you start seeing that the ideas are being reiterated across other sections of the track, you start to see that it's not so much jumping back and forth as it is a slow evolution through intensities. And I think that's just a phenomenal way of going about doing something like this. Harsh transitions and duality are certainly two ways or it's certainly a way to go about crafting a song. But I think for this, especially with the themes that it's speaking to me, musical storytelling, the idea that everything is sort of intertwined and is one, even though we're looking at extremes, that they're still connected, um, it fits well with those concepts that the music is telling me about. So we're going to take a moment, dive into some lyrics here. It says, dead ends in the white. All the roads ahead lead to that one place, path chosen too heavy to bear. All right, we're already there, right? Talking about something that holds somebody down and requires them to utilize a lot of force to progress forward, right? So we already have something that the path forward is too heavy to bear. Heavy, they even use the word heavy right here, opening line almost. And it's already lining up with some of the things the music is telling me. Blessed to be the numbness carved into me, sweet nothingness I poured this life into. Blessed numbness, sweet nothingness, it's too heavy to bear. So, yeah, this person seems to be emotionally numb. Um, and that moving forward towards something, I'm not sure what they're trying to move forward to, requires a great amount of uh, willpower, I suppose would be the word we're looking for. That it's just a very difficult path ahead of them, and that each step requires immense force. Carry me into the white where I could return to the dead end of loveless care, to the warmth of the light, into the white, where there's no more pain, which I could not suppress, but still I won't make it through again. This time I will leave you forever. So it almost seems like this person is possibly wishing for, I don't know. They said they want to return to the dead end of loveless care, to the warmth of the light, into the white. And originally when it said the white was the dead end, I kind of pictured something more wintry, right? The numbness and coldness of winter. Stuff themes we've checked out before in a couple of black metal bands, right? Agalok, I think, is one of the most recent ones we've checked out that have utilized these themes in their music. Um, but instead, it says, to the warmth of the light where there's no more pain, this time I'll leave you forever. I almost wonder if this person is contemplating or hoping for death to pass, so that they will no longer feel the pain and the numbness and the nothingness anymore. They're talking about wanting to go towards the light. I don't know. The love was a choice I declined or never had. It came with the cost I could just not pay. Dead ends in the night, distanced by the time, entwined in the misery, destined to be apart. So this is interesting. Um, yeah, it seems that this person fell in love with somebody and then the relationship ended and now they feel cold and emotionless and stuff like that. And they just want to find something that will help them get out of bed. They are very depressed about this. Um, and it's interesting here, though, it says that there are dead ends in the night, distanced by time. So the two people are distanced by time. They're destined to be apart, but they're entwined in misery. It seems like the breaking off of the relationship was not even not mutual, but not wanted by either. Both are in misery because of this. Um, and that kind of lines up with some of the things I was talking about regarding the theme of the track being separate but intertwined. They're distanced by time but still intertwined. There's still connective tissue between everything. Dead ends, entwined misery, so distant and apart. Rage against the falling world. Walls come down around me. The voices that haunt me bear resemblance to my own. So, to me, this is leaning into that mental health issue. I already said this person sounds depressed, clinically depressed, I'm talking about, so much so that it's impacting their life. They can't find the energy to move forward. Even says the voices that haunt me bear resemblance to my own, which to me reads as the voices in your head, right? Basically, talking down to yourself, telling yourself that you're not worthy, or you're not, you're not worthy of love, or you don't deserve this, or whatever. Tearing oneself down, lacking that self reassurance. Bleed into the dead end from the escape I created. I never had much faith in life, and now it's outweighed, feeding the void. So yeah, that to me at least sounds like they did end up committing suicide, bleeding into the dead end, creating an escape for themselves, which the escape they already talked about was the warmth of the light where there's no more pain, leaving somebody forever. It says, I never had much faith in life. The opposite would possibly be faith in death. Um, and now they're feeding the void. So yeah, I think that's what happened. Um, Very tragic story. But I think the music does a fantastic job of marrying the themes of the lyrics with well, actually, of interpreting the themes of the lyrics into the musical component and telling its own story, right, through the musical language that can coincide and support what the lyrics are doing. I don't think it is an accident at all that I picked up on so many of the lyrical themes before I even before I even checked out what the lyrics were. The music does a fantastic job of telling a parallel story, and at least evoking many of the themes that the lyrics are looking at. Yeah, fantastic job, Harbinger, right? Like I said, it's not my cup of tea. I really do enjoy the folkier sections other than the metal sections, but I think you guys did a fantastic job at, like I said, crafting this song from top to bottom. Every piece seems to be connected in a way that works in an effortless way to tell the story both on a musical and linguistic level that you guys wanted to tell, while also creating a cohesive song that I think people are going to enjoy. So, yeah, I don't really have much criticism here, other than the fact that half the song isn't really aimed at me as an audience. And I would not have you guys change that at all, right? Keep doing what you're doing, right? So those are my thoughts on the Harbinger's Dead Ends. This is where you guys come in, hit me up with your comments. Let me know if you enjoyed this or not, anything that stood out to you, or anything that you'd like to add on to my analysis. Normally I'd plug my own stuff, but instead, if you head into the description box, you can find all the links for the Harbinger, any social media or music platform, streaming platform, merch links, anything I can find, I'm going to toss there. Make it easier for you guys to get in contact with the band, or support them in any way that you might want to. And then above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. All right, that wraps it up for this week. Tomorrow we will have an album review. I think it's Mastodon. I couldn't tell you the album. I might actually be wrong about the bands. I'll let you guys know. Actually, no, it is Mastodon. Emperor of Sand. That's what we're checking out tomorrow. Um, So yeah, that's that. Sunday we'll have a live stream for the patrons. I'll get that out as soon as I can for everybody else. It'll probably be Sunday evening or Monday morning for that. Tuesday morning at the latest. And then next week we do emo week. Emo Bryan returns without emo hair. What is an emo if you can see both eyes? Is that really an emo? I don't know. We'll find out when Emo Bryan returns after I ceremoniously kicked him off the channel last time. Oh, he's not going to be happy about that. Anyways, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.